Hey guys, Travis here for Tpull's Corner, and we are doing the final in the series, all 10 pre-made decks. This one's Lifeline, so the name of the series is Travis Plays the Premades, and today we're just going to go over, in this quick video, we're going to go over the cards themselves, and then the next 5 days in a row we will play a match or two and see how they perform, and then at the end I'll go ahead and give you some tips, a little feedback on how the deck works. What advantages it has, what problems it has, that kind of thing. So we start, as always, with the 1-drops, right? Cleric class. You can gain life. Whenever you gain life, you get a +1 counter when you pump it up to level 2. And level 3, you got to pay 5 to get a level 3, but you can bring a creature from your graveyard back to the battlefield. You gain life equal to its toughness, which means you automatically get to put counters on creatures. We have Fortifying Drought, 2 of those where you gain 2 life. The target creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Now when you have that on something like a Celestial Unicorn, which whenever you gain life already you get a counter, you're going to gain 2 life. That's going to turn from a 3/2 to a 4/3, and then it gets the +2 at least, right? So it turns into a 6/5 just in one turn, just with that card. That's assuming that you didn't already use Revitalize to gain 3 more life. So you've got to beware with this deck when you're facing it. If they've got a couple of cards in their hands and you get a lot of creatures out on the board and they're attacking, you might think that you're safe to block, and you will not be, because they can combine those two. Story Seeker, 2 copies of that. Dwarf Cleric with lifelink. Devouring Tendrils, 3 more copies to remove it. This is sorcery, not instant, but target creature you control deals damage equal to its power, target creature or planeswalker you don't control. When the permanent you don't control dies this turn, you gain 2 life. So you notice that the green has a lot of life gain here, right? White was bad enough, so to speak, with the normal stuff of them always having these cards where you can gain a life and get a +1 counter. Now its companion here is making sure to gain life all the time, along with 1 copy of Inscription of Abundance, which you got a choice. You can do 1 of 3 for the 2 mana, or you can pay the kicker cost and pay a total of 5 and do all 3 if you want. 2 +1 counters on target creature. Target creature gains X life, where it's the greatest power among creatures they control, and target creature controls fights target creature you don't control. Another way to gain life, Prosperous Innkeeper, 1/1. Get a treasure the first time you bring them down, then whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Okay, here's a green and white legendary elf cleric. It's the same as a white in the sense of you gain life and you put a +1/+1 counter on it. But also whenever you do that, you get to scry 1, which is very valuable. So 2 copies of Trail of Sorrow in the deck. We've mentioned Celestial Unicorn. 3 copies of Core Celebrant. And this card is an unsung hero of the deck that maybe enough people don't appreciate. Whenever a Core Celebrant or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So it's a nice blocker to have early, 1/4. That can present a lot of problems for the smaller decks with smaller creatures. And if you get 2 or 3 of these, suddenly you use Celestial Unicorn. If you put that one down, it's gaining 2 or 3 counters in a single turn just from being summoned down and having these guys around. You add in the 2 Prosperous Innkeepers, and you've got 5 different creatures already that can add. They can make other creatures add the plus counters. 2 copies of Minimus Containment, where you enchant them, although your opponent does get to turn into an artifact that they can use to add 1 mana of any color. 1 Righteous Valkyrie, Angel, flying, 2/4. Whenever another angel or cleric enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Then when you have at least 7 more life than your starting life total, creatures you control get +2/+2. This is a dangerous card to have also as well when you have like 3, 4, 5 creatures out on the board. And then suddenly everybody's +2/+2. Lurking Roper doesn't untap during your untap step, but whenever you gain life, you untap Lurking Roper. This card, a lot of people don't know how to use properly because they keep, sort of from muscle memory, putting down creatures at the beginning of their turn and gaining life, and then they attack with Lurking Roper. So you really gotta pay attention when you play this deck that if you can attack with Lurking Roper, you do it first, and then you play a card that gives you life, and you let him untap, and that way you have him as a defender for the next turn as well. Card that I hate to go against, Icing Death Frost Tyrant. Legendary Dragon 4/3 flyer with Vigilance. As if that's not bad enough, when he dies, you get to turn him into an artifact, equipment called Frost Tongue, and that you equip. The equipped creature gets +2 for the power, and whenever the equipped creature attacks, you tap target creature defending player controls. Which, if you've got enough mana to get him out, you've probably got other couple of creatures that can attack, and that can be pretty devastating. If he either flies over your head and hits you for 4, or you lose him and you put him on somebody else as the artifact, and suddenly you're tapping one of their defenders. Accomplished Alchemist for 4, you get a 2/5 Elf Druid. You can tap him for 1 mana of any color, or add X of any color, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. 2 copies of Meet in a Tavern. You get 2 ways to use it. You can start a brawl, which is everybody gets +2/+2 until end of turn for your creatures. Most of the time it's used to form a party. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, you reveal any number of creature cards and put them into your hand, and the rest goes at the bottom of the library. This can be a game changer. You can whiff on it completely, and just you'll have 0 because you pulled up, a bunch of land and maybe an enchantment or 2, or an instant. But I've also seen where people grab 4 or 5 creatures all of a sudden, so they had nothing. I've equalized the battlefield, I was about to crush them, and then they play this card, and suddenly, they've got enough mana to play 2 or 3 creatures, and it changes the game. Pillar Drop Rescuer. This is another unsung hero of the deck. It's a really well put together deck. 2/2 flyer. When Pillar Drop Rescuer enters the battlefield, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. This is the same as the level 3 power of the Cleric class, which gives you, if you get all 4 of these out in your game, gives you 4 different chances to get a creature back from the graveyard. So if you think the Celestial Unicorn is a bother, every time it's gaining life, it's getting +1 counters on it, and you kill it a couple times and they just keep bringing it back, or the same thing for something like a Righteous Valkyrie. Also keep in mind that if you kill Icing Death and then you get to keep the Frost Tongue part, the equipment, Icing Death Frost Tongue actually goes in the graveyard itself, right? So you can just bring that card back too and get the dragon and the equipment out at the same time. One of your favorite characters from Forgotten Realms, Drizzt Do'Urden. I like this card. 3/3 with double strike. When he enters the battlefield, you get to create his cat Guinevere, that's shown to the left, for 1 legendary green cat creature token with trample. Then whenever a creature dies, if it had power greater than Drizzt's power, you put a number of counters on Drizzt to equal the difference. So if you kill his cat, he becomes a 4/4 double striker. If you kill like a 6/6 creature, Drizzt becomes a 6/6 creature. You put the number of +1 counters on Drizzt equal to the difference. And with double strike, that makes him somebody that usually doesn't last long because he's targeted right away. Okay, and then finally, one of the most devastating cards in the deck, Valkyrie Harbinger. 6 mana to get down, 4/5 flyer with lifelink. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 or more life this turn, you create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. You see her to the left. And if you get rid of her, and then you bring her back with Cleric class or Pillar Drop. No, you can't bring her back with Pillar Drop Rescuer because that's got to be mana value 3 or less. So your only choice is to use the Cleric class. But it can be a real pain. So Cleric class can be a real good force multiplier, right? It's not like you stacked your deck with 4 copies of this devastating card. You've only got 1 copy. But if you can get her back a couple of times, that could win the game for you. Alright, so that's the introduction to the deck. We're going to turn this into an index card for the rest of the days so that when you pull up the match, if you want to go back and review this again, you can just click the link and go to it. Before I forget, like and subscribe. We'll catch you later on in the rest of the week as we do the matches with this final one for the series. Travis Plays the Premades. Bye.